Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Candid Conversations. I am your host, the laid back, down to earth life coach, Aisha isReal, and we are ready to get started. Let me start off by apologizing for the delay. We are having some serious technical difficulties that the troubleshooting is just taking us some time. So I thank you for being here. I thank you for your patience, and we are going to get started. So before I bring up our boss chick, I need to let you know two things that Dawn will not be with us this evening. She's big time. She has to fly out this evening to go somewhere and take care of business. And then what was the second thing? Of course. Well, I'm exhausted, and we are going to just have the best show that we possibly can. And just again, thank you for your patience regarding our technical difficulties. So, let me tell you about our boss chick that we have this evening. Her name is Camille Hicks, Esquire. I'm throwing that on the end to let you know she is an attorney. But I had the pleasure of meeting her this summer, and she is the sweetest person, very humble. And I loved hearing her stories about her being an attorney. So I thought it would be awesome to bring her on the show and share her experience, share her journey. And then also, if you have some brief legal questions, because it's not the entire hour. We're not going to take up all of her time. But if you have any questions regarding legal things, I think that I can start the questions. And then if you have some, you can chime in. But if you are there watching, please let us know that you're here. And without further ado, I'm going to bring up our boss.
Wow, I love that.
Hey, well, I'm glad you do, and welcome to the show. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I'm excited.
Yay, I'm excited to have you too. Well, what I typically do is just first allow you to introduce yourself to the audience. Let them know your name. I mean, I've already told them, but let them know your name, what you do, and then we will get into my questions.
Okay, sounds good. My name is Camille Hicks. I am an attorney. I have been an attorney in criminal defense. Uh-oh, you got a call?
No, there's no call. There's notifications. I need to put it on Do Not Disturb so it doesn't do that again. Sorry.
No problem. I've been a criminal defense attorney for almost 19 years now, and that's pretty much all that I do. So I handle anything from murders, possession of guns, drugs, robberies, burglaries, arsons, sexual assaults, whatever you can think of criminal, I do that. I do that dirty stuff.
Oh my goodness.
And I have been doing it, like I said, for almost 19 years. My office is located in Matson, Illinois. I go to just about all the different courthouses: Cook County, DuPage County, Lake County, Will County. And I represent defendants from every aspect, from the time that they're charged up until sentencing. I don't do any appellate work, but I do everything in between.
Wow. So, with all of that, you clearly must be tougher than you seem because that seems like a lot. And I know when we spent the week together, you just seem like, the sweetest person, compassionate, just kind-hearted. So how did you get into criminal defense.
Yeah, and you know what? That's what's so great about it, because people expect that when I come into the courtroom. But the bottom line is you got to know the law. And if you know the law, it doesn't matter how tough you are, how sweet you are. But if you're able to argue your point and defend your client and
Yeah.
make people understand and believe it, and you know the law, it doesn't matter. But the way that I actually got into criminal defense work was I was a superstar in trial advocacy.
Okay.
And I really loved arguing the Constitution. And my whole purpose when I initially decided to go to law school was that, if I knew the Constitution, that was power. And I wanted that power.
Okay.
And I didn't see myself as a prosecutor, because when you go into any courtroom, all you see is Black men and Black boys. And I refused to prosecute them. And really what happened to me, this is a calling for me.
Okay.
I read Proverbs on a regular basis, and I read it by the day.
Yes.
And I kept coming across, like, during this time, for some reason, I had missed like 30 days, and I kept reading the 31st verse.
Oh.
And the 31st verse, and it was, speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, defend the rights of the poor and needy. And I felt like that was God talking to me. And I had always wanted to be an attorney. And in my 20s, I was just too scared. I didn't have the confidence.
Okay.
And then I went through a tragedy in my life where I became a young widow. And my husband died when I was pregnant, and I had a 2-year-old child.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And so, I was talking it over with my Shiro, Patricia Brown Holmes.
Yes.
And she had helped me in my 20s.
Okay.
And so this was when I was 34 years old.
Okay.
And she said, why don't you go to law school? And I was like, I can't go to law school. I got this young baby, because by then I'd had a baby. And my son was, let me see, they were 2 and 4.
Oh.
And so she said, you can do it. And she convinced me. And then with the Proverbs, I just felt like, okay, this is my calling.
Yes.
And I applied and I got into law school. So that's how it all came about.
Okay. Wow. Well, apparently 19 years later,
Yes.
and when we forgot to mention, you own your own law firm. So you're not just.
I came straight out of law school, because by the time I finished law school, I was 40, and there was no way I was going to work for anybody. So I came straight out of law school, and I've been in my own practice ever since. I hung up my shingles, and I've been in my own practice ever since.
I love it. So now, because I have obviously with the Boss Chick segment, I have a lot of entrepreneurs that come on the show, and a lot of them talk about the freedom that they experience being an entrepreneur, but also the toughness that you have to be able to navigate your own business and all of, if there's any, but most of the time there is some type of red tape. So a lot of times people who are going to a 9-to-5 and maybe they're not getting along with their boss are like, I just want to work for myself, but they don't realize that at some point you always answer to someone. But where's that line between freedom? You know what I mean? Like how does that feel? How can you articulate that for me?
Well, I would say this, you're always working. I mean, I chose for myself, I didn't want to have a big firm. I wanted a small small shop where it didn't take me away from my kids when they were growing up. This job, and that's the other reason why I chose criminal defense, because all I had to do was go to court, argue, and come back home. And I could come back home at any time. It wasn't paper intensive, where I was glued to paper all the time and had to make filings and things like that. So I was always there for my kids. But I will say that for me, because of that, I am always working. I remember when, my mom passed away and I was sitting in the hospital room trying to get people to cover my cases. That's the kind of stuff that you have to go through when you don't have, if you work for somebody, you just call your employer and that's it.
Right.
But, and that was not the first time. But I will say that I have to answer to my clients. I have to answer to the prosecutor. I've got to answer to the judge, but I still have my freedom. If I have a headache after I've just gone through a battle in court, I don't have to go back to an office and still have to deal with all the things that you have to deal with in an office. I can go home and lay my head down. And I appreciate that. The other challenge that you have is that you don't really know what you're going to make from time, from month to month.
Right.
So, and that's why I give it to God, because for 19 years, my kids always had a roof over their head and we always ate. And they went to, decent schools. I made sure that we moved into a neighborhood that I didn't have to pay for them to go to school. So,
Yes. Well, good. So you've made some wise choices. What speaks to me is that whole you go to work, you do your job, and then you go home and you don't have to, because just in education, that's tough. It's tough to not take your work home. And the older I get, I'm more and more determined to leave my work at work as much as I can. But again, I still have to follow other people's rules. But that's why I have the show. That's why I have my other businesses, so I can experience some type of autonomy in my life where I can relax, because I feel like when it's your calling, like you say, if it's something that you're supposed to be doing, even though you're working all the time, it just doesn't feel like it. Like, it is my peace when I'm calling boss chicks and listening to their story or connecting them with somebody that's going to take them to the next level or something like that. Like, I get joy and peace from that.
Absolutely.
So even though I could be working really, really late or, through my weekend, it just doesn't feel like a lot of work. Now, I have some questions for you that were given to me because I did say I was going to have a criminal defense attorney on the show. So there are some questions. So, and this might seem really, well, I'm not going to judge the question, but it says, what do you do when you're pulled over by the police? What is the right thing to do when you're pulled over by the police, whether it's a traffic stop or whatever? Like, how, because we've had, just a lot of trouble with that.
Okay. Well, this is what I'll say, that the majority of my clients are either cases that involve possession of drugs, DUIs, and possession of weapons. So what I will say first, because especially people who are in their 40s and 50s, a lot of people in their 50s don't even know what the Uber app or the Lyft app, how to even get to an Uber or Lyft app. So a lot of times they're coming from parties and they may have had something to drink and they don't believe that they are impaired, but they make a traffic violation where they say it's a traffic violation and they're pulled over.
Right.
So in those instances, what I tell my clients, and I tell people who have not been pulled over prior, that you should cooperate with the police, but you should not cooperate with the field sobriety test, which means that if the police says, hey, we want your license and your insurance, you provide that for them. If they ask you to get out the car, get out of the car. Just get out of the car.
Okay.
If they ask you then to submit to a field sobriety test, which would be them checking your eyes, them, you doing a walk and turn test or holding your leg up for a certain amount of time, don't do it. Do
Okay.
not do it. If they ask you to take a breathalyzer, don't do it. Now, the law says that if you drive, well, we're here in Illinois, but the law says that if you drive in Illinois, there is implied consent that you're supposed to cooperate with the police when it comes to those field sobriety tests.
Oh.
But here's what I have learned in the 19 years that I have practiced this, and I hope people are listening.
Okay.
If you say no, it doesn't matter, because if they pull you over and they suspect that you have been drinking, they are going to arrest you.
Okay.
And I have not had one case in which someone has been pulled over and the police suspected them of drinking,
Mm-hmm.
and they have not been arrested.
Oh,
so
wow.
if they're going to arrest you, they're going to arrest you whether you take that field sobriety test or not. And the reason why I'm telling you don't take it is because if you don't take it, then they don't have the evidence. So they'll arrest you and say, you got a DUI, but now they've got to prove once you get in court beyond a reasonable doubt that you were impaired. If you don't give them the breathalyzer that shows that you might have been over that legal limit of here in Illinois, which is 0.08, or you take the field sobriety test, which they do video, show that,
right,
and they have no evidence. So don't let them arrest you with the evidence. If they're going to arrest you without any evidence. Now, the other concern I have, and the other issue in terms of people being pulled over, is that people who smoke weed or cannabis.
Okay.
So most of my gun cases come from police officers who say that someone has violated, had a traffic violation, and they pull them over and then they smell weed. Now, before September, police officers could then search the car if they smell weed, because then they're searching for illegal drugs.
Okay.
Well, in September of this year, the appellate court in Illinois said that police officers could no longer search a car based on the smell of weed. It's people versus Stribling. And so now well, first of all, let me just say this. Don't smoke weed in your car. That's number one. Because it's just like DUI. You can't drink alcohol in your car, so don't smoke weed in your car.
Right.
But if I don't know what the strand of cannabis is these days, but it can stay in your car or whatever forever. And it does not mean that you are impaired. So the police have to have more than just the smell of weed in order to pull you over. In order to search your car. Okay. So those are the two things. But more than anything, if you just get pulled over for a traffic stop, just give them your insurance, your driver's license, cooperate with them. Do not, if they start asking you questions like where you're coming from or whatever, just say you want to speak to your attorney, but at least give them your identifying information. And the time to battle is not there at the stop. The time to battle is when you have been released from that police station and you are in contact with your attorney. Do not give them more.
Okay. I think that's some very valuable information. And I'm glad you mentioned about why they, that rule or that law changed about them being able to search the car based on just the smell of weed. I was not aware that had changed, but I think that's important for people to know. But now let's just say that it still happens. So let's say somebody pulls somebody over, they smell weed, and they still proceed to search the car. Is that the time to say, in September they passed this law?
No, because they are still doing it. They are still doing it. Okay. So I am now filing motions for clients who have been pulled over since weed has become legal, because weed is no longer considered a contraband. It's legal.
Right.
So just like someone smells alcohol doesn't necessarily mean that you're impaired. I can drink a glass of wine and smell a strong odor of alcohol and not be impaired.
True.
And it's the same that goes with weed. And yes, officers are still doing it. And if they do it, all I'm saying to everyone, just cooperate, because I don't want to see anybody die because they're saying, well, you can't do this because it's not legal. It's not. It's, if they're going to arrest you, just let them arrest you. And then the time to argue is in court and not there, at 2 o'clock in the morning on the side of a road. That is not the time.
Right. So basically, the bottom line is use wisdom. Now, what if you don't have an attorney? Like, is that where the public defender comes in? So somebody just has to, like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, you know how you're saying, let me get in touch with my attorney. But if someone doesn't have an attorney, who are they calling?
Okay, so let's say you get arrested, and most people don't have attorneys, but you can exercise your right to remain silent. And you can tell an officer if, so the time, okay, so what happens is once you are arrested, okay, that means they have taken you to the station, they have booked you, and then they are wanting to now interrogate you or question you.
Okay.
You can then exercise your right to remain silent. And you can tell the officer, I'm exercising my right to remain silent. And whatever they're going to do at that point, charge you, call the state's attorney to see if they have enough evidence to then book you or charge you. And then you end up, well, we don't have bond court anymore. But, you go through the next step of the criminal justice system. Then, you can still exercise your right and you can call an attorney at that point. Because most of my clients call me after they've given the confession and everything else. So that's why I'm saying you can exercise your right. You can say, I remain silent.
Right. Okay. Who's Michelle? Okay, I missed it, but okay. I'm trying to think if there are any more pertinent questions. I think that's really important to hear directly from an attorney. Like, these are the things that can keep you alive, fight in
Yes.
court, not on the side of the road. I appreciate that. So we are rounding. We've been talking for 20 minutes, so we're rounding to the end of our segment. But I would like for you to first explain or tell what makes you a boss chick in your own words.
Well, let me just say, I didn't know I was a boss chick.
You are,
um,
you are.
Okay, well, I will say that I am a boss chick because I persevere. Okay, nothing will get me down. I have been doing this for almost 19 years. And you know what? You said the perfect thing. Like, I would never suspect that you would be a criminal defense attorney. And I love it because I've done it for 19 years, almost 19 years. And I've done a good job. I've done a good job with my clients. I've had I've had, what makes me the happiest is when I'm able to see the success of what I've done. I remember I had a client who had cancer, but he kept getting in trouble.
Oh, wow.
He had a drug case, a gun case, and
Mm-hmm.
I kept fighting for this young man. That young man now has a master's degree. He is married, has a baby on the way. That makes me happy. That makes
Absolutely.
me a boss chick. Okay.
Yes,
I
yes,
tell my clients all the time, there's only one miracle worker. I'm not that miracle worker, but you know what? I feel like I'm doing God's work. So if that's what a
absolutely.
boss chick is, that's what I am.
Absolutely. I love it. Okay, so before we close out, I'm so glad that I got a chance to interview you. This was fun, and I really just love that you had some valuable information to share. I think that anybody who watched this interview or will watch it in the future cannot say by any means that they didn't get something valuable out of this. What was I going to ask you? Oh, of course. What can you tell an aspiring boss chick? What are the things that are important if somebody, I mean, they may be young, they may not be young, but somebody aspiring to just make some changes in their lives and become a boss chick? What would you let them know, or what would you tell them to do?
I
Or
would say probably take your time and really decide what it is that you want to do. Because whatever it is that you want to do, you got to have the passion for it. If you don't have the passion for it, that means, staying up late at night sometimes. As I said, I was working during the time my mom passed away. That's
yeah,
insanity. But what I'm saying to you is you got to have that passion and you got to have the determination and the perseverance, because it is not easy and it's not going to be peaches and cream all the time. And you got to stay prayed up.
yes,
Just stay prayed
ma'am.
up.
Yes. Well, thank you for all of that. Thank you for those golden nuggets. And I need you to let people know how they can get in touch. Are you accepting any new clients?
Oh, always. I'm
Oh, okay.
always accepting new clients.
Okay. Well, can you leave your contact information so that if anybody wants to get in contact with you, they can?
And I should leave that in the chat here.
You can say it on screen and we can leave it in the chat
Oh,
later.
okay. Yeah, I am located. Well, you can Google me. It's CamilleHicksLaw.com.
Okay.
I am located at 4749 Lincoln Mall Drive in Matson, Illinois, Suite 202. And you can also find me on Facebook.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us for the Boss Chick interview. And I would love for you to stay and come back later after our spotlight and have some girl talk with us if you have time.
Okay, sounds good.
Yay. Okay. All right. So thank you so much. And everyone else, thank you for watching. Please stay on because next up is our spotlight on education with Miss Vanessa.
Wow, I am totally inspired by our boss chick, Miss Attorney Hicks. Oh my goodness. Wow, this is your teacher friend. Hey, Candid Conversation family. I am coming to you live from LA, Los Angeles, California, and it's a little chilly out there. I hope your babies are wrapped up, going to school every day, ready to work, but also being taken good care of with those hats or your sweaters. So, our boss chick, Attorney Hicks, said first of all, she's a total inspiration in education. Later in life, and as a young mother, she became a criminal defense attorney. Are you serious? If that is not inspiring to you, I don't know what is. Wow, so proud of her. Can you believe that we are 3 years out of education, out of COVID? Sorry. 2020, the class of 2020, 3 years out of the game. They're out in the real world trying to figure it all out. Some of them are in college. Some of them are still deciding if they want to go back to higher education. But whatever is going on with that class of 2020, they will always be our special babies because the world shut down during their senior year. So, what's going on with your current class? What's going on with your current babies who are now, again, 3 years out of COVID, out of quarantine? We're not at home doing homework. We're at school. We are at home doing homework, but we are at school during the day. Those kids still need your compassion. There's going to be some delays, and that's okay. Check your body language. Parents, when you're talking to them about their rough day, when they are laying those burdens down, just take a breath before you go in and try to problem solve. Ask them some inquiring questions. Well, what should you have done? What can we do to make it better? How can we fix these things? And if they're doing well, they're just going a little slower up the pace. They're not reading as fast as you want them to read. They're not learning those multiplication tables as quickly as they can. You know what? Give them time. And that's what our boss check proved today. Sometimes we just need time. We need some inspiration. We need some cheering on. So you got this, parents. Communication. Technology is amazing. Do you know you can see your child's grades right now on Schoology, Remind, Slack, whatever you guys are using for technology? You can go right in and see if they have something due, something they just turned in, or something that they need to work on. Use that technology, parents. I know we're busy, and I know we want our students to be independent, but sometimes they're not. They need a little checkup, and that's okay. Make it a tea talk. Have some hot cocoa and talk about what's going on with the day. And let's open up the app and see where we are. What are we doing? Are we working on this? Let's make a plan. Collaborate. That's where we're making these plans. Let's collaborate. Let's collaborate with our student. Let them know we're partners in this. We want you guys to do the best. We want our students to achieve, but we also want them to know that we're here if we need help. We can seek out help. A lot of our family members, grandmothers, are lawyers, doctors, nurses. They've been in school, they're educated. We have aunts and uncles who work in education. And we have friends who are in sororities who have programs that are ready for your student. Even fraternity members, these fraternities have amazing programs. So collaborate. It takes a village to raise a child. And last but not least, counseling. Do you know that your school offers tutoring? I guarantee you they do. And if your student is high achieving, the public library, your local library, those museums around, there are enrichment programs all around us. Use your resources, use what's in your community. That's all from me, your teacher friend in California. Talk to you later. Candid Conversation.
First and foremost, you need to have your wine.
Oh, yes, it's time for Girl Talk with Dawn B, LaTanya, and yours truly, the laid back down to earth life. All right, ladies, it's time to decide. Would you like a question, a scenario, or a personal? Think about it, but whatever you choose, just don't forget the wine. All right, now it's time to get this conversation started.
Oh, can we see everybody? Somebody's not here. Oh, I don't see our lawyer. And I don't see Vanessa. Oh, there she is. Okay. Can you all hear me? Okay. All right. Well, thank you, ladies, and thank you, everybody, for your patience. I don't know if Camille is going to come back in or not, but we have some exciting questions this evening. We have some scenarios and some personal truths. So we are going to get started because the time now is already 7:41. Thank you, Miss Vanessa, for those special pointers, because yes, we do need to make sure that what did you say? Check your body language, because those are read just as well as your words. So I appreciate that. All right. So are we ready to get started, ladies?
Yes.
Candie, I can't hear you.
Yes.
Okay, there we are. All right. So lucky you, Candie. You are on my side. So you are first up. And so we're going to jump right into it. What would you like? A question, a scenario, or a personal truth?
A question.
A question. All right. Let me see how to. Is this a? You know what? This is interesting. Okay, I'm sorry. I am on a completely different computer. This is not my computer. How does this work? Ooh, wait. And it's not a touch screen.
Don't go into the history though. Don't do that.
Oh my goodness, I cannot believe this. Okay, let me see if I can do it on my regular computer. I cannot believe this is like the weirdest night I'm having, and it does not help that I haven't had a lot of sleep. She asked for a question. Oh yeah. Producer, look me up. You see a question? All right, here we go. Is it true that mothers choose their man over their children?
Um. Well. Okay. So I'm a new mom. My daughter's 3. In the very beginning, even though she's only 3 years old, but like when she was first born, I did have the tendency to choose her over my husband, only because I feel like, okay, my husband, he can fend for himself. He, He's an adult. He's okay. He's good. My baby is going to always need me. So I can honestly say that I did that in the beginning.
Okay. But
I know some of them that still do choose their children over their husbands. I'm not saying that it's right. I feel guilty if I don't. Now I feel bad about choosing my child first because my daughter is here because of me and my husband. And I don't want him to feel neglected, and in the beginning I was always making sure she was okay. She was good. She was always in good hands, but in my mind, it's like, okay, my daughter has to come first. She has to be okay. And I didn't think like my husband, he's the man of the house, he is the reason why we have our daughter. So, I'm doing better at that. I'm just speaking on myself. I'm doing much better at putting my husband first. Then my daughter. And I feel
is it true or no?
Is it true? I'm kind of conflicted. I don't know. All right. It's like this with me here.
Got it. Okay. Anybody else want to chime in?
Wait, can you show the question one more time? Can you?
Mm-hmm. Do you see it?
Oh, they're man over their children.
See, that says something though. Like I'm picking. You got to pick. Like it's just situational. Like when it comes to feeding the baby, a newborn, I have to feed the newborn. My husband will be okay. But if you're talking about like my children are 20 something and my husband of 25, 30 years, they need something. We don't always have to run to rescue them. I mean, it's situational. Like to put somebody over somebody means that, we don't have boundaries and are not like, I feel like nobody's over anybody. Well, the husband, of course, the man is the head of the household, but to put somebody over somebody is like, I left my kids in the cold and I'm not going to go pick them up. My husband said he needs me. Girl, what does that mean? How old are we? This is 2022. Like, what's going on?
I love that response. Absolutely. Why do you need to choose? There is an order. There's an order of family. Yes, the husband is supposed to be the head of the house. The wife is the helpmate, but there's still a partnership there. So when it comes to the children, there should be conversation, there should be agreement, there should be support. So it's not like I gotta choose my kids or my husband. We're all in this together. It's a family unit and everybody has a role. So I see that. Now if we're talking about somebody who's dating, because it said their man, it didn't say their husband, yeah, you don't get to be the priority until you are the husband, in my opinion. Now you get to be special, and but if we're not married, my kids come first.
Yeah, I can actually see why someone would pose that type of question. For me, I don't like choose who comes first. It depends on what it is and the need that person has at the moment. And no one feels any type of way about it. However, I can see when someone is dating, I've definitely seen where, the kids kind of get pushed to the side because you're trying to build this with this new person. And so I can see why that question was posed. So to answer the question, it's just situational. And it just really depends.
It's interesting that you say that because I was getting ready to make a reference and then I remembered. So last week, what's today? Today is Monday. Last week, Tuesday, my family and we went to go see a movie premiere that you guys know Aisha, who has been a guest co-host on the show before. She's in this movie. So we went to go see her movie premiere. And that's kind of something that happens in there. So I don't want to say too much because she said the movie's not going to come out for a few months or whatever. So, but yeah, something like that happens where the woman who's dating a man, she like totally I felt like she forgot about her kids. I was sitting next to Maya, like, she gonna say anything about her kids? Like, she gonna check on her kids? She gonna ask about her kids? So yeah, I think that's unfortunate when people do that. And even more unfortunate if you're dating somebody who expects that.
True story. Yeah. That's very true.
Yeah, I can definitely agree.
Yeah.
If Don was here, she would make a joke, but
Right, and I don't have any
yeah.
jokes.
No, when you're dating somebody, no, no, no. Like your responsibility is to those children because that situation comes first. And then you're dating somebody and you just kind of push them to the side because you're trying to go out to be with your man. I don't know. That's a little no, you're a mother first. In this case, they will grow up. They won't always be babies or young teenagers that need supervision. They're gonna grow up, they'll be gone. You can get your groove back then.
Agreed. All right, cool. All right, LaTanya, it's up to you. Would you like a question, a scenario, or a personal truth? Did you say something? You're muted.
Sorry.
I saw your mouth move. I'm like, wait.
I'm sorry. I'll take a question.
A question? All right. Oh, wait, that was wait. I saw a comment. That happened really fast. What did it say?
She said, let's go
wow.
scroll all the way up to the bottom. She said, false, my child comes first.
So
and then she said, hi, Camille.
And then she said what?
Hi, Camille.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Mom. She was saying hi. I think it was her daughter. She said her child comes first.
Got it. So even if just in all situations, is she still there? In all situations, your child comes first? Like at no time does your husband come first?
I think because it was later in the conversation, it was when we were talking about being single and when
okay.
and mommy's single and she's trying to get her groove back. And
got it. Okay. Yeah. All right. Makes sense. Okay. So I'm so sorry. LaTanya, you asked for a question.
I did.
All right. Let's see the question. I'm sorry. All these young men be trying to date me. What is the age gap before you're labeled a cougar? Because
I don't know. I don't let me tell you something. I definitely feel a certain type of way about that whole cougar thing. It gets under my skin. Okay. Because why do ladies have to be labeled like that? When men are older, they just older men. Like, I don't like it. So I don't know the age. And I say I think that with her, like, apparently she's trying to entertain the youngins. And she doesn't want to be judged about it. So I mean, I just think that it needs to be at a point where the communication is everything. So she can't be talking about what she's going to do in the future, and he's talking about what future and somebody else is doing, so it has to be a balance with the communication part. And I think that's the importance. Like the age gap, you may have some people who have a gap in their in the age. There's a difference in the age, and they've been together for years or a long time.
Yeah,
something is working for them. So whatever works for you, girl. Because I don't know about being no cougar.
who came up with that word. Like, what if that word come from anyway?
Yeah.
Some lonely man was some lonely man who had nothing to do but pick on women as they age.
Right. Now, do you think that when the term was originated that it was meant to be negative?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because why not call a woman a woman?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm getting mad because like why not? Like, right. It's like we're targeting, like, oh, you a cougar. You out like hunting young men. I heard somewhere age like 7 years younger. Like that's like, what is that if somebody half your age plus 7, that's like the perfect woman for you in a certain religion. I was like, who came up with that? And what I mean, half your age plus 7. You've heard that before?
Mm-hmm. I have not. I've never heard that.
Mm-hmm. And that's supposed to be the perfect woman for a certain man, which men, like you said, it's much more allowable for men to date younger women. Like you said, LaTanya, we don't call him, well, I guess you could call him a sugar daddy, but that's
Sugar
something very,
daddy. That's
But
that's
that's
very,
so, it's like almost matter of fact, like half your age plus 7. Like that mm, that doesn't even
mm,
seem logical to calculate,
They could be
because like
making up stuff sometimes too. They just be making
yeah.
up whatever.
yeah,
yeah,
because like LaTanya said, I mean, it really depends on the two individuals that are in the relationship and your preference. Um yeah, I don't know. I think the youngest person I've ever dated was my first husband, who was 3 years younger. That was it.
yeah.
But
That's not really an age gap, but when you get into like 5 to 7 years or 10 years, that's a little bit. Now you're talking about experience gaps, and like when you graduated high school and they were still in elementary, that's a gap. If their shoes lit up and their backpack light up, that's probably a conversation. Yeah, he too young. He too young.
okay. Yeah, I don't like she said, everybody has their preferences and what's important to them. I'm so into the 90s, so to speak. Like I really enjoyed that period of my life. So lots of songs that come on are just nostalgic for me. And
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to be around somebody who gets that. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, if
Like
Shy comes
LaTanya
on,
said,
yeah,
LaTanya said it. She said if you're talking about the future and he talking about what future and them just released, it's we too much. Too much.
exactly. Exactly.
I mean, and I listen to all of that too, but you get what I'm saying about
Hmm.
the difference in the conversation. And I'm like you, Aisha, I will 90s R&B you to death, like car trip, whatever.
Yes.
That is definitely my favorite type of
Okay.
music. I just love where it takes me. It's
Excellent.
a good
Yeah.
feel.
Same here. All right. Vanessa, it is your turn.
Well, cheers to the 90s. And I want to keep it rolling with a question. These have been good questions.
All right, cool. Question. Why do men isolate themselves from their women when they're stressed?
Ooh, why do men isolate themselves? First of all, we probably need to ask them because men always say that we speak upon things without actually asking them why they're doing certain things. But I do think we don't necessarily train, in my opinion, sometimes we don't train our young men and then who become grow up to be men, train them to kind of deal with their emotions. And so when they're stressed out, they either don't want to talk about it, they don't want to process through it, or they may fear processing through it in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe seeing them cry or see them kind of be angered. They do tend to pull away. I have experienced that. So it may be dealing with emotions, may be difficult, not being able to process that stress. And then what's where I'm looking for? When you think of something else to do instead of dealing with your stress, you kind of redirect yourself and you over here when you need to focus and you being that partner, you remind him of how he's supposed to be an adult and not a little kid or, supposed to be focusing on something. So it could be a number of reasons, but I think it major not dealing with your emotions well.
Agreed. I think it also can be, because everybody's different. Again, it also could be part of what you said, where if their stress brings out negative emotions or just negative words or any of that, they may want to shield their woman from that. You know what I mean? And in an effort to protect the relationship. Like if they know stress just makes them like nasty, you know what I mean? Like they just say mean things or whatever. They, uh, I'm cool. Isolate yourself. You know what I mean? Like because if I'm not able to help you get back to your calm and your peace, then you need to do what you need to do so that we can preserve what we have here. But I'm a talker, so eventually we're gonna talk about it so we can get to a place where that's not how you handle things.
Everybody's different, but women I feel like to we want to help. We want to be a helpmate. You said Aisha, we want to be helpmates. How are you gonna be a helpmate? And I don't even know what your problem is.
Right. Yeah.
If it's me causing the stress, I can understand why my husband would want to isolate himself. He's not a back and forth person. He's more of, okay, let's give me 5 minutes and he'll walk away. That makes me talk more. So if it's me causing the stress, you know, I get it. He needs to clear his head, relax, breathe, but that makes me more angry. So I don't know.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I'm growing, I'm learning.
Yeah.
Well, if I had to take a guess at it, it's really could depend on the role that the male plays in the relationship and or the household. And then just in general, as women, we are more open about if we're stressed, if we're going through things, and whatever we're going through, we're more vocal. By nature, we are more in tune with our feelings and we express them more. For men, like if a man is going through a stressful period, because he is the person that should be the strength for the household or for the woman that he's around, I can see why he would, you know, disappear. But I'm gonna need the people who submit these questions to understand that there are women on this show. So
we don't really know.
We cannot answer for a man. Like, look, especially the fact that they go away when they're stressed. Like, we don't even know when they stress, nothing. So now y'all asking us these questions. We don't know.
True. We can only speculate. But I do know when my husband and I first were married, like he would have like his whole face would wince up and his tone would be sharp. And I'd be like, why are you angry? And he'd be like, I'm not angry. And I'm like, well, what emotion is that then? You know what I mean? Like, I need you to, if it's not anger, what is it? Because I only do that when I'm angry. And most of the people I interact with, they only do that when they're angry. So I kind of need to know what that is you're feeling. And it took us some time to get there. But yeah, we don't know what a man is going through on the inside unless they actually tell us. So maybe one day we'll have men on the show to answer these specific questions.
And sometimes they want to gaslight you about it too. Like they're feeling some kind of way. No, I'm not. Yeah, you are. No, I'm not. Yeah, okay, well, fine. You're not. So then your heart attack came. So yeah.
Right. All right. Whose turn is it? Vanessa?
No, that was mine. That was mine.
So it's my turn. Okay, and everybody shows a question. All right.
Yes.
Let's it's 53 minutes in. Okay, let's do a scenario. Do you see the scenarios?
Not yet. Love technology.
Okay, let's do a personal truth then. Oh, okay. Her. I want us to go out for dinner and a movie. Him. Okay, I'm on my way. Who is supposed to pay? So that again, I'm all about communication. Communication is key at the beginning of a relationship, in the middle of a relationship, at the end of a relationship. I think you need to talk about it. So there are going to be people who say, no matter what, the man is supposed to pay. There are going to be people who say, whoever asked is supposed to pay. I think whoever the two people are in the relationship need to have a conversation and come to an understanding. I just think that cuts down on a lot of heartache, a lot of disagreements, because people's intentions are in different places. And I'm all about what was the intention. I'm more about your intention than about how it looks on the outside. But for me, that I probably wouldn't ask because I like a man to pay. But I have paid, but probably since I've been married or since we were engaged. I don't know. I really don't know. It's not something I'm keeping tabs on. But I can say that for sure, when my husband and I were dating and he told me he got me like all the time, hey, I'm fine with that. I'm not one of these women that's like, no, I'm going to pay. Don't you take. No, that ain't me. If you would like to pay, I'm good. But there are some women who are like, don't, if I ask you out, then I'm going to pay. More power to you.
Am I
He's
the only
supposed to
single
always
one?
pay. I'm not paying. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
What'd you say, Vanessa?
Am I the only single one tonight?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the new dating, if I don't want to be held accountable. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you. If you want to pay, you can pay. But if I suggest it, either I'll pay for it or we pay half. Because I don't want to be like, hell, oh, well, I paid for you. You can't order from the lobster side of the menu because you owe me something. No, we're not doing that. So I would much rather either go Dutch, or if he would like to pay, he's a gentleman. We got, where our relationship is in that place. Sure, you're more than welcome to pay, but I will pay my half. I will pay my half.
All right.
Mhm.
Well, most of us on here, I think Candie has been married the longest. Candie, how long have you been married?
7 years.
Yeah. So Candie's been married 7. I'm coming up on 5. And what about you, LaTanya?
We'll be coming up on 4 May 25th.
Yay. Hi, Lisa. All
Hi,
right,
Lisa.
cool. That was a short scenario, huh? That actually wasn't sent in. I saw that on Facebook somewhere and I was like, oh, let's see how this goes. So Candie, we still have time for you to pick one more thing.
Let's do a personal truth.
All right. What is the most important thing in a relationship?
Good one. Um, for me, it's communication. Um, I have a serious problem with people that cannot communicate with me. Call, text, email. I need to know what's going on. I am a big communicator. Now, my husband, on the other hand, he's the total opposite. He's gotten better. But in the beginning, he just was not there. He just did not communicate. I don't know what what his problem was in the beginning, but now he's gotten much better. But for me, it is definitely communication. That is something that I have to have in a relationship. Um, Again, it's a pet peeve that I have if I can't get it. So for me, it's communication.
All right. I agree with you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I do too. I think the communication is very important because a lot of the other things that may arise in a relationship, whether it's a financial situation or whatever, you still have to get through it through communication. Like, okay, what's the plan? What's our plan with getting out of this? Or how did you get in this? Or, even if it's whatever, infidelity, whatever, it still has to be a communication. Communication is really the root to fixing pretty much whatever issue and keeping things. And not only, I don't want to just talk about issues, but it's like communication is just how you build a strong foundation anyway.
Yeah.
So
I,
yeah,
I
that's
do
important.
Yeah, I do agree about communication, but I do think we need to come from a place of compassion and understanding, because you can be talking me to death and not hearing anything I just said. So we got to have some compassion in our communication, some collaboration, and some counseling, because I feel like sometimes men don't like when you're right. They're going to move the goalpost. Well, that's not what we even talk about. No, that's what we're talking about. Let's stay right here. And I don't want to talk you to death. I want to have some compassion and some understanding. Like, you understand where I'm coming from. I understand where you're coming from. Because, lies are a part of communication too. I don't want you to be lying to me. Could just get me out your face. Oh, well, yeah. It's not. So I want some compassion and some collaboration in that communication.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with all of you. I think communication is absolutely essential and it covers so many things. I think depending on how you communicate, that affects the level of trust. I think depending on how you communicate, it affects the level of respect. I think depending on how you communicate, it affects the love. If you disrespect somebody, if you lie to them, if you so many different things, if you just talk rudely to them regularly, that can affect so many things. Now, I will tell you, I'm quick to say I believe that honesty and trust are the most important things in a relationship, but I think that communication affects those things. So, but I do not think that you can really have a valuable relationship without trust. Trust is everything to me.
Mhm.
Once that's violated, it's very hard to bounce back. Not saying that it's impossible. Lots of people choose to stay and repair, but it's so difficult once that trust is gone. And then it makes you question a lot of things. Like once you start
Everything.
lying, then like, is this even a real thing that we have here? So I those things are important to me.
Mhm.
Yes,
I
yes.
agree.
All right. Well,
You guys are a wonderful way to have a Monday. Oh my God, boss chicks and talking to y'all. This was a great Monday. Thank you, ladies.
Well, look, check this out. Because of all the technical difficulties, I don't know if you all noticed, but I didn't have any wine.
Girl, I drank mine.
I spent so much time trying to figure out which computer I was going to be coming from. And of course, after this, I still need to figure out what's going on with my main computer. But I thank you, ladies, for being here. And don't go anywhere, but we're getting ready to close out.
Okay.
Next week is our last week. Next week is the season finale. So for those of you who are watching tonight, come on back for the season finale. We do not have a scheduled boss chick, so check in for whatever surprise is coming up next week. All right, I'm ready to close out. The outro, Mr. Producer.
Didn't I just tell you